G'day, Luke from LeadSig here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your first Facebook lead ad campaign. Now, hopefully this looks familiar. This is the Facebook ads interface, and the first thing we're going to do is click on Create. And clicking on Create, it starts creating a campaign, and I'm going to call this campaign my first lead ad campaign. Now, most importantly, the thing that we're going to select is the campaign objective. Now, under campaign objective, we want to select the lead generation objective. I'm going to leave most of the default settings on here. We'll change a few as we go through, but I'm going to leave campaign budget optimization on, and I'm going to set the budget to a modest $10 a day. Start with what you're comfortable with. $5 to $10 a day, it probably is minimum. Enter campaign name. Now I am going to, for this particular campaign, I'm actually going to be advertising this guide. So I'm going to name my ad set name after the audience that I'm going to be targeting. And in this case, I'm going to be targeting business page admins. And you'll see as we go along how I go about doing that. I'm just going to add a name for essentially a placeholder for the ad name, and I'm going to save to draft. Okay, now that I have my draft set up, you can see the structure of my campaign. This is the campaign name. This is the ad set name, and the ad set is where we set the audience. And this is my ad, which we will create later. So the first thing we're going to do is to create an audience. Now, I wanted to show you, I guess, some features of how you can target. So with this in mind, I'm going to click on my ad set and start setting up my target audience. So scrolling down, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set an end date, and I suggest you do this basically so I guess essentially so you don't run over a budget. So let's say we've got $10 a day, we're going to go for a week, 7 days, we're only going to spend a maximum of $70. So it's kind of good practice when you're doing, your first couple of campaigns, just to set an end date and to come back and review it. Obviously, when you're starting out, I'd be reviewing these daily. But if you do forget, at least you know that the campaign's going to end in a week's time. Now I'm going to target a geographically targeted audience. You can see here that my audience has defaulted to Australia because that's where I am. However, I want to target people who are living or based in San Francisco. So I'm going to target that, and you can see that I can do radius targeting. It's defaulted to radius targeting. So you'll see that this particular campaign will be targeting people living within 25 miles of the center of San Francisco. So I'm going to leave it at that default. Now I'm going to select my age range. I know from experience in advertising my business that the people who tend to come on board as customers tend to be, if I was to be really specific, I'd say 35 to 54 year olds. And as we're doing this, and they do tend to be male predominantly, but I'm going to leave this as both genders. You can see here as we refine our audience, our potential reach changes. This changes there, so you can keep an eye as you continue to refine your audience on how many people you're going to be reaching. Now, I am also going to select business page admin, business page admins. So I'm fortunate in that Facebook has this as a targeting option. So we're going to be targeting people who are Facebook page admins for businesses. And you can see here now that my potential reach has gone right down to 21,000. One thing that I didn't check that I will go back and show you is people living or recently in this location. I'm going to leave that as the default because people might be coming from outside of San Francisco, outside of the city to work. Whilst I'm recording this, we are in COVID-19 times, so it may not be as applicable right at this point in time. However, it will become more relevant in future. Everything else I'm going to leave as default. So leaving everything as default, I'm going to now move on to placements. Now with lead ads, placements are restricted compared to some other Facebook ad formats. And if you click on manual placements, you'll see where your lead ads will show up. So they're only going to show up on the Facebook network or Facebook placements and Instagram placements. I'd suggest you leave these as default to start with. And now we can continue on to creating our ad. Okay, and our next step is to create our ad. So I'm going to click on our ad placeholder here. If you haven't already, or if it hasn't been automatically selected already, select the Facebook page that you're advertising. I'm advertising LeadSync, and the Instagram account. Now, these will have needed to be set up in your business.facebook.com account. You'll need to have attached your Instagram account and your Facebook page. Now, I'm going to create a single image or video ad. And first thing I'm going to do is I'll just clear all. By default, it kind of selects your Facebook page header as the image. So I'm going to add an image, and I'm going to find one that I created earlier. Now, if you want to cover all your bases, just without creating multiple versions or multiple sizes of your ad, just select the square ad, and we can crop the image so that it's going to appear, I guess, optimized for certain placements. In this case, I don't want the text, or I want the text to be shown, so I'm just going to change that cropping. And in instant articles, I'm going to bring that down as well. They're not perfect, as you could go away and create customized sizes for all the formats that Facebook has, but the easiest way in this case is just to start with a square image. Click continue. Now I'm going to move on to my copy. Primary text, I've got a little bit that I've already prepared. I'm not going to go too much into copywriting here. There's volumes and volumes and volumes written on ad copy. So start with something. If you've already been advertising before, I'm sure that you'll have something in mind. But you can test multiple versions of your ad in both with images and copy. We could set up multiple versions of this ad and see which one performs the best. So from here we've got primary text. You can see in our preview here, this primary text in Facebook appears above the image. If we look at Instagram, it's going to appear below the image. Headline, view the free Facebook lead ad guide, and this appears here. Display link. I'm just going to type in my website address, and you can see that the preview will update here. And we're going to create a call to action. Now, the call to action is very important depending on what you're trying to get the person who clicks on your ad to do when they go and fill in the form. Because when they click on this button here, they're going to be shown a form that we're going to create in our next step. So depending on the action that you're trying to get the person to do with the form is going to depend on the call to action that you choose. So if you're a service business, it might be get quote, but you can see here that there are a number of different calls to action. I'm just going to use learn more. It's a fairly stock standard one. It's actually usually the one that Facebook defaults to. For our next step, we're going to set up the most important part of our Facebook lead ad, and that is our lead form. So we're going to click on the Create Lead Form button. First thing to do is to name your form. A lot of people forget to do this, but naming it does make it a lot easier to refer to later on down the track when we need to. My first Facebook lead form. Form type, I'm going to leave this as the default, more volume. In future, you might like to select higher intent if you are getting low or low value leads, but let's leave it as is. I'm going to call this Learn How to Build Facebook Lead Ads. You can see that I've already typed that in before. Now, we're going to upload a banner image. Facebook recommends a size of 1200 by 628 pixels. So I am going to go and grab one that I have made earlier. And I'm in here, you can have a paragraph or you can have bullet description, which is basically essentially reinforces what people will be getting once they fill in the form. So learn how to build Facebook lead ads. View our step-by-step guide to building your first Facebook lead ad campaign. Now, questions. Firstly, by default, Facebook adds email and full name as the questions that are going to appear in your form. Now, you could leave it at that, leave it as default. What I like to do is to remove full name and add first name only. Now, in doing this, you'll be able to see here all the different options of the questions that you can ask, and all these questions are questions that can be pre-filled from people's Facebook profile if they have that data in their profile. So usually people will have an email address and a first name at minimum in their Facebook profile. So that's what I tend to like to ask for. I also move the first name above the email address. Just tends to be a common format if you're used to filling forms online, which you probably are. Usually you get asked for a name and then an email address. One of the other things that you can do is to add a custom question. Now, this custom question will appear actually before people get to this section, and I'm going to ask a basic question, a basic multi-choice question, and this is going to help qualify my leads. And I'm simply going to ask, have you advertised on Facebook before? Yes or no? Simple as that, but the answer to this question will give me an indication as to how experienced my audience is with Facebook ads. So we can see there, this is how our form is looking. Once people click on yes or no, then they'll be sent to this section of the form, which will be pre-filled with their first name and email address. Now, an important aspect is you do need to have a privacy policy. So hopefully you have a website that has a privacy policy. I'm going to jump over to LeadSync, and like most websites, I have what is a fairly boring looking privacy policy. I'm going to pop that link in there. You can add a custom disclaimer. We don't need to in this case. So finally, the thank you screen. We're going to type thanks. Click below for the guide. As you can see there, we probably wouldn't want any more text than that, but we do want a strong call to action that gives people an indication of what they're getting. I am going to link to where I actually have a written version of this guide, which is right there. Now, Facebook has given me a warning, and this is something that's actually fairly recent that they've added this in. We do need to let people know the information, how the information is going to be used. Now, we can check out the examples. They've got a few examples here, which a good place to start. We'll use your information to send you weekly newsletters. So I'm going to use something similar. We'll use your information to send you regular updates on so once we've put that in, we can then click save and finish. So that's our form completed. The next step is to make sure that I have my tracking selected. Now, if you've advertised on Facebook before, hopefully you're familiar with a pixel. The Facebook pixel is something that you get your developer to pop onto your website, and that pixel helps track visitors who've come from Facebook and then to your website. I have the Facebook pixel installed, so I'm going to select that. I am also going to add tracking. Now, your eyes may glaze over, and this isn't a necessary step, but if you're using Google Analytics, it will help you see people who are coming from this Facebook ad to your website. And I'm simply going to go, say, Facebook as campaign source, CPM, which stands for cost per 1,000 views. It's a format, it's a standard format that I use. I'm going to say the campaign name, and I'm going to select that ad name. Campaign name and ad name. Once again, this is just so I can see some stats in my Google Analytics. Don't worry too much about it. Apply, and our final task is to click publish, and that will go into that'll be uploaded to Facebook. They will review this campaign to make sure it passes their advertising policies, and then hopefully within anywhere between 10 to 15 minutes to a couple of hours, depending on how busy Facebook is, and depending if this is your first time advertising, it will eventually go live. So there you have it. That's how to create your first Facebook lead ad campaign. Okay, now that your campaign's been running for a while, hopefully you've generated some leads. I'm going to show you how you can find and download those leads. First thing you do is go to your Facebook page, the page that you've been advertising from. Click on More and click on Publishing Tools. Now, once the page loads, you'll see down the left-hand side, down here, you'll see your forms library. And here you'll see your list of forms. You can see up here is the example that I've used. I didn't run this campaign, so I don't have any to download. But you can see you can download these others. You can download a CSV file, which is essentially a spreadsheet. You can download those from here. The other option is to link into a service like LeadSync, and LeadSync will send you your lead notifications instantly via email or to a number of different CRMs that we use.